What's up and welcome to another episode of Football Everyday, coming to you live and direct from Studio V here at One Utama Shopping Centre in PJ. Football Everyday is of course brought to you by Maybank Premier Accounts. My name is Nelson as usual, and I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Shebby Singh back on the show with us. Shebs bro, I trust you've recovered enough from the recent coaching clinic then.
Very much so. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but what was shocking was the standard of play.
Especially the fitness, right? Alright, great stuff. So let's start today's chat with results from the weekend's games, where Chelsea thrashed Sunderland 7-2 at Stamford Bridge. Shebs, I mean, what do you think of that performance as a whole?
Well, I mean, you know, it's a great result. You can't take anything away from the result and the performance. Yes, Chelsea looked very, very fresh, right. Which is always very important, because I think when they have to play some tight fixtures, or rather, you know, play matches in a tight schedule, I think they do struggle. But it was a wonderful performance. You know, they scored 7 goals, which is always great viewing.
Right. I mean, so with the kind of show they put on, Shebs, I mean, they kind of made a strong statement that, you know, they don't really miss their African stars, right?
Well, I think
it was only one game, but
yeah, you know, it's just like Roberto Mancini going to Manchester City and winning the first 4 games. You know,
right?
You know, there wasn't much of an opposition. So likewise for Chelsea, yes, it was great without the African stars. It was Sunderland, a severely depleted Sunderland team, right, that had absolutely no clue as to what they were doing. So let's not take. I mean, yes, great result, great
performance on the day, right? Yeah.
But it'll be a different game on the weekend.
Right. I mean, got to ask you very quickly, I mean, what of Sunderland's showing, as you said, you know? I mean, what do you think Steve Bruce has still got to do?
I think he's just, you know, it's all gone wrong for him, you know, when you miss key players.
They started so well, right?
Yeah, when you miss key players like Andy Reid, you know you are going to suffer. They had Lorik Senna playing at centre-back, where you clearly can see that he is no centre-back by any means. So, you know, trying to fit in players, you know, Sir Alex Ferguson suffered likewise when he didn't have enough of his best players available. But for Steve Bruce, it's all going wrong, badly wrong.
Right. And over at Old Trafford, Man United kept pace with Chelsea, you know, having beaten Burnley 3-0, thanks to goals by Berbatov, Rooney and new boy Diouf. Shebs, I mean, after a nervy, you know, goalless first half, I think they finally showed that they were the better team, right? By taking the chances they had.
Yeah, unfortunately, the first half, you know, is best forgotten, because I thought, you know, Man United looked average. In the second half, I think they were slightly better. But this is strange about Man United. I mean, there's so many times that I've seen them play this season, and it's always that feeling, you know, that like, you know, this is not Man United. Yeah. This is not the Man United that we know. Exactly. Right? So there's been too many average performances from Man United this season.
Right. Man, looking at Burnley, Shebs, would you say Brian Laws is a suitable candidate to take, you know, to take them places, so to speak?
I think, you know, anybody would struggle in there. I think Burnley are a very honest, hard-working team, you know, and they rely a lot on their home form. I don't think that's going to be good enough to keep them in the Premier League. I don't think Brian Laws can do any much more than Owen Coyle did.
Right. I've got to ask you what you think of yet another disappointing performance from, sorry Liverpool fans, but from Liverpool, who again, you know, led in the last minute equaliser, you know, to only draw 1-1 at Stoke City.
It was. I mean, it was a difficult game for them, but I think Rafa Benitez once again showed a lack of conviction in his team selection. You know, Aquilani, Maxi Rodriguez all sat on the bench, didn't come on until very late in the game. I think the way forward for Rafa now, you know, is try to tinker with his formation, try to change tactics a little bit.
Suit the players he has.
Yes, you know, try to be a bit more positive to, you know, because I think against Stoke City they were too negative. They had 7 defenders on the field, and that is out and out defenders, not forgetting 2 defensive midfielders. So Rafa has to start being a bit more adventurous, otherwise it's just getting worse.
So I mean, overall you would say it's more lack of quality, you know? I mean, you know, I mean, they were missing Gerrard and Torres.
I think,
yeah, they still managed to score first.
I think, you know, what is the problem now is, you know, Liverpool have become used to the fact that we are missing Steven Gerrard and Fernando Torres. No, the world does not end there. But unfortunately, the Liverpool manager, the Liverpool fans are beginning to believe that there is no future beyond Steven Gerrard and Fernando Torres. You telling me? Come on, surely Liverpool, for who they are, can do better than that.
Great stuff, Shebs, as usual. But it's time for our first break here on Football Everyday, brought to you by Maybank Premier Accounts. But we'll be right back with more football chat and banter, so do stay tuned, and we'll see you soon. Welcome back to Football Everyday, brought to you by Maybank Premier Accounts here on the second segment of today's show. We're still on the weekend's fixtures, so another notable result over the weekend was Manchester City's 2-0 loss to Everton. Shebs, in our tip-top predictions, both of us went with a loss for Roberto Mancini, right? And I think thanks to Steven Pienaar and Luis Saha, Mancini did taste his first defeat.
Yeah, and it was no surprise. I mean, Everton have been picking up in form, and I think finally David Moyes decided that, Marouane Fellaini's best position is defensive midfielder.
Right.
That's where you signed him for. But yes, due to circumstances, he had to play him here, there, everywhere. But I thought Fellaini sitting in there, was awesome.
Dominated the game, right?
And you do expect Everton, with their hard-working style of play, to be able to overrun Manchester City, for me, who are the team of ball players.
Right.
So it was no surprise that it happened.
So, deserved win for David Moyes' men?
Oh, very much so. Yeah. I thought, they were the better team by a mile and a half.
Right. Okay, and over the Reebok, Arsenal were made to work hard for a 2-0 win over Bolton in Owen Coyle's first game in charge. I mean, Shebs, I think Bolton had some chances of their own, but the difference in class in terms of finishing, I think definitely made a difference. Right?
That was the difference. I mean, you got to go back to Matthew Taylor. He had at least 3 great opportunities which he fluffed, and Arsenal, on the other hand, made 2 very, very good goals, and they made it count. Cesc Fabregas is key. As long as he's on the pitch, as long as he's fit, Arsenal look a different proposition. Right? Otherwise, you've got the likes of Rosicky, Arshavin, Samir Nasri, everybody just running into each other, and Diaby as well, without any real direction. But Cesc, that's what he provides.
Right. I've got to ask you, in terms of Bolton, if you're looking at Bolton, I think over the past couple of seasons, Bolton generally struggled to score goals, but what do you think of Ivan Klasnic?
I think he's a class act. I think, he's come into not the greatest of teams, but he has shown, he's got a great touch, he's got great vision, and he can finish as well.
Right.
And Bolton are not a bad team, I would say that. I mean, Matt Taylor could have scored at least 1, to be honest. It would have meant, a different thing. Yeah. But overall, I think Klasnic will definitely, in my opinion, be a success in the Premier League, not with Bolton. I think he will definitely be courted clubs who are more ambitious. Right.
But overall, about Bolton again, we mentioned last week that Owen Coyle will make this Bolton team play, and not be the throw-in kind of physical kind of thing,
Yeah.
So based on that performance, you can't see a change?
Unfortunately, when you try to pass the ball around, when you play against Arsenal, they will pass it better than you.
Right.
And I think after Bolton reverted to type, they did trouble Arsenal a bit. So, it's a plan A and a plan B. So, your plan, Bolton's plan A was always a long ball. But now I think Owen Coyle will use that as a plan B, because it will work against certain opponents.
All right. Okay, and speaking of results, just this morning, the League Cup semi-finals, Manchester City again came from a goal down to defeat arch rivals Man United by 2-1, thanks to a Carlos Tevez brace. Of all people, right? Shebs, you think the tie is over with the second leg still to be played at Old Trafford?
I don't think so. The result might have gone Man City's way, but I do feel Manchester United were the better team, and it's the second leg is at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And
the last United just need a goal, right?
Yes, they just need a goal, but I don't think Man United are out of the tie yet.
All right, I really hope you're right. And getting to our email of the week now, which comes from Badiu Zaman Jamhari from Rawang, who says, kudos to the Malaysian men's football team for winning its first goal in 2 decades, in the recent SEA Games. In contrast to the men's performance, our women's team, still has some way to go in catching up, judging by their opening 14-0 loss to Thailand as an example. So Shebs, I got to ask you, what do you think needs to be done for the women's team to bridge the gap, in standards compared to the men's team?
Well, to be honest, I think, first and foremost, I think more and more women have to come forward to play football. Right. You've got to create that culture first. Yeah. Because, if you have the numbers, and then you can think about planning forward. Right now, I don't think there are enough numbers to even form a league. Right. Now, that will be the first step. Go out, spread the word about women's football, and then have a league, and then we can compete at the international level. Otherwise, you can't just step, from a open team selection or trials to playing international football. It doesn't work that way.
Right. Great stuff, Shebs. But thanks a lot for the wonderful email and for your efforts. You picked up a great prize courtesy of Adidas. And if you're a Maybank account holder as well, do let us know, and you'll also take home an exclusive Maybank pack consisting of a Maybank bag and another Adidas Premium. To write into us, just like Bud, drop us a line at football@thestar.com.my. More football chat to come here on the show, but it's time for our second break here on Football Everyday, brought to you by Maybank Premier Accounts. So stay tuned and we'll see you soon. Nice one.
Who was supposed to come from Maybank?
It's a guy called Faisal. And you're back with us on the third and final segment of Football Everyday, brought to you by Maybank Premier Accounts. And this is where, of course, we usually preview some eye-catching fixtures, starting with two games, which were initially postponed and that will now be played tomorrow morning, in fact. First, Arsenal entertain Bolton. I mean, yes, it's Bolton again for the Gunners, but this time it's at the Emirates. So, Shebs, Fabregas, as we mentioned earlier, looks to be approaching his peak now, I think, So how crucial will he be for Arsenal in this one, as well as for the rest of the season?
Very, very important that he stays fit, because I think he's got the winning mentality now.
Yeah.
After he played with Spain, winning the European Championships, and that is the leader that they need. That is his absence. Is always leaving a big problem for them. So Cesc is going to be key, and I think it could be easier than it was at the Reebok Stadium. I think Arsenal could possibly win this more comfortably.
Bigger margin. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask you about Cesc. We're talking about Cesc. People like Cesc, as you said, is kind of coming to his peak, and he's hungry. I mean, he's not won. I think, I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's not won anything with Arsenal, right?
No, not yet. But again, I mean, we talk about coming into his peak. Anything, he's only 22.
Yeah.
So stars like this come along very, very. Seldom.
Yeah.
And you could see from the time he was 17 that he was going to be world class.
Right.
And at 22, he already is world class. And it will not surprise me that maybe after the World Cup or the next European Championship, Cesc will be. I mean, at one point in the next 2 to 3 years, he's going to be the best midfielder in the world.
Right. And having given them a run for their money last weekend, can you see, definitely won't see Bolton getting a result then?
I think, it'll all depend on how Owen Coyle wants to approach this.
Right.
He'll be thinking, going to the Emirates, let's not get a stuffing. Let's play defensive football. Let's try to keep the score down and hope that we can hit them on the counter. But I think that the psychological factor is very important. Arsenal have just beaten them away, and now you're going to the Emirates. So while I think it could get difficult for Bolton.
Right.
In that, I think Arsenal could score a few more goals.
So I was going to say, it's not something to look forward to, right? Not a bright start to your new tenure as a manager. Having a double header against Arsenal. So Shebs, give me a score prediction.
Well, I'm going to go with 3-0 to Arsenal.
Okay, maybe I'll follow your tips, man. But okay, moving on to Anfield, where troubled Liverpool play host to Shebby's beloved Spurs. I love saying that, Sheb's beloved Spurs. Sheb's, Gerrard and Torres will be missing again, but going to this one, I think Spurs themselves will kind of be frustrated a little, having failed to beat Hull after dominating the game at home last weekend, right?
Yeah, and I hope that that frustration comes to fruit, because I think if Spurs want to be taken seriously, then you've got to go to places like Anfield. It's a difficult place to go to, but they are without their world-class players.
Right.
And if you think you want to compete for a top 4 spot, you've got to be able to go there and believe that you can get the result.
Yeah.
And I think that is very important. I mean, yes, I do love Spurs, but again, there are times when you thought they could step up, they have failed. Chelsea, Arsenal,
and everyone
Man
expected
United.
them to kind of trash Hull as well, right?
Exactly. So these are the kind of games, that you actually judge a team. So for me, Harry Redknapp, it will be judged on the game against Liverpool. How much progress have you made, if at all, if you can't go to Anfield and believe that you can come away with the result?
So what kind of team you see Redknapp putting out, and give me a score prediction?
I think pretty much, he'll go with his strongest lineup.
Right.
And again, I think man for man, I think Spurs have got the better squad. But this is Anfield. And that is where, Spurs, if I'm not wrong, Guillaume Balaguer reminded me that Spurs have not beaten a top 4 side since 1968 away from home.
Right.
So, and I told him we're going to change history. I don't think it'll be possible, but I'm going to go with a draw. I think Spurs can get at least 1 point. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Right. Okay, very quickly, Shebs, I mean, looking at the bigger picture, you know, Rafa Benitez has just said that he's transformed Liverpool from about a 6 out of 10 to at least an 8 or 9. I mean, would you agree with this, or is this some sort of deflection,
I mean,
for their poor form at the moment?
Rafa is running out of excuses. Rafa is trying to dig very, very deep to try to justify his tenure, and we can see that Liverpool have gone backwards. I would say it's more the other way around.
Right.
I think he's taken the team backwards, not forwards.
All right. Okay, and one league game very quickly that is happening on Saturday is Man United against Hull at Old Trafford. Shebs, not too long ago, United went to Hull and got a 3-1 victory thanks to the Wayne Rooney show. So can you see results being any different? One at Old Trafford?
I hope Boaz Myhill puts up a world-class performance. But he put out a world-class performance against Spurs, so you can expect him to make
to
one or two.
Motivated as well again.
No, make 1 or 2 blunders.
Right. Okay. Very quickly in the FA Cup 4th round, one of the more interesting ties sees Spurs again play host to Man United's conquerors, Leeds United. Shebs, can Leeds do it again?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I seriously don't think so. I thought they caught Man United on a bad day. I don't think they can do that to Spurs. So Spurs to go through.
Former old boy Robbie Keane. Yeah. So just before we leave, as usual, this week's Football Everyday fun fact has to be on 2-goal hero Carlos Tevez. Shebs, did you know that when time permits, Tevez actually performs as the frontman for a musical group called Piola Vago with his brother Diego. I mean, their music is kind of like the Argentinian equivalent of gangster rap in the US. I mean, look, so Shebs, Tevez can apparently sing as well as score goals. So you think Sir Alex has any regrets in not signing the boy up?
No, I don't think so. Because I think you judge a player over a period of time, not in a purple patch during a season.
Right.
And this is the big problem. He's having a purple patch, but if you look at his entire career, he's never been a prolific goal scorer.
Right.
And I would hope that he can change that when he plays for Argentina at the World Cup. Because at international level, he's flopped as well. Man United gave him a very, very high profile. Now he's going through a purple patch. But it's not like Carlos Tevez has been transformed into a world-class striker overnight.
All right. Great stuff, Shebs. Pleasure having you as always.
Pleasure, yeah.
That's about all the time we have on today's edition of Football Everyday, brought to you by Maybank Premier Accounts. So until then, until we see you next week, enjoy your football, and it's Ciao de Mao here from us on Football Everyday.
That was all right.
We overran.
That was quick, is it?
We overran.
Bye.
I knew.